Hi, I'm Laura Flanders of The Laura Flanders Show. Watch every week on Free Speech TV, Link TV, YouTube, or if you're in New York, CUNY TV. Prefer to listen? Subscribe to the free podcast at lauraflanders.com. I end every week with a commentary. I call it the F word. Here's this week's. Since March 30th of this year, Israeli forces have killed at least 33 unarmed Palestinians in protests in the Gaza Strip. Almost 3,000 more have been shot or tear-gassed, reports the Israeli newspaper Haaretz. As demonstrations continued for a third week, I sat down with Palestinian humanitarian and development professional Lana Abu Hijileh, country director for Global Communities, a U.S.-based non-governmental organization. This week's F word comes from Lana.
Lana Abu Hijileh. I'm a humanitarian and development professional working in the West Bank and Gaza. What we saw in Gaza over the past 2 weeks, I think people of Gaza, after almost more than 11 years of a blockade that created a humanitarian crisis that's now chronic, coming out and saying enough is enough, and the world needs to see what's happening in Gaza and try to find solutions. It is, I would call, a freedom march. This protracted crisis is now getting to, I think, in every sector, in every area. The food security has deteriorated, real poverty, the highest unemployment levels amongst the youth. Even the private sector that we thought at least could keep Gaza going is disintegrating, cannot handle this type of closure anymore. The water and sanitation situation is becoming really on the edge of what I would say a catastrophe. And of course, the underlying reasons are historic, but also with the energy crisis, with the lack of electricity supply on continuous basis. I think now it's down to almost 4 hours a day that people in Gaza get electricity. The water situation, almost 90% of the water is not up to the WHO standard. It's saline, it's contaminated. So even with the poverty, people now have to pay for drinking water and other kinds of use at the household, which they cannot afford. I was there about 2 weeks ago assessing the water situation, and I was really struck with how now we are on a brink of a total collapse of the system. One of the ventures I got involved in was working with youth aged 15 to 22 to form local councils, democratically elected bodies. It's kind of a platform for youth to positively engage in serving their communities, to volunteer, to understand what is the meaning of ethical leadership, values. And over the past 8-9 years of implementing this venture, I came across thousands of amazing youth who, despite everything, they get up, engage, serve, believe that they are relevant, and they carved their space in the forefront of the development process and the humanitarian sphere in their own communities. So that's why I see that those are the future leaders that will create change, in addition to my 3 beautiful daughters, of course. You know, when you see real poverty, real despair, you would think that, as I said 2 weeks ago in Gaza, I went into households, I went into the communities that have been affected directly by the 3-4 wars over the last 10 years, the blockade, and literally they have nothing. Naive me, I thought it broke them. And then I left the Thursday before the march, watching the news and seeing those thousands and thousands of women, youth, men, old, young, marching peacefully. I was like, Lana, you're mistaken. You really did not get it. And that's why I say they did not break the soul. This strive for freedom, for a real change, a positive change in their lives. So despite what sometimes we think the forgotten people have been broken, the forgotten people are still there, and they need to be recognized. Everybody around the world should be pained. Palestinians, when they lose their lives, are not numbers. You know, you hear 18 Palestinians killed, 20 Palestinians killed. Those are, they have names, they have families, they have dreams, they have aspirations. This beautiful artist who used to do those murals in the sand, that the night before he was killed on the 1st March, made this beautiful hashtag, I will return. Well, I think his soul returned. That journalist, a father of a young, those are people that they're not numbers. So I am afraid. But I think injustice to be ended requires sacrifices, and that's something the Palestinian people till today have to do. And what angers me is, in a peaceful march, a march for freedom, there is no need whatsoever to use excessive force or what. Let the people express. But I think sometimes they need to use excessive force to show the world that this is a violent demonstration, while it's not. As a non-politician, hypocrisy. I mean, that's when we even sit as friends and talk, and we are all for the values even that America stands for and the world calls for. Human rights apply to all, and you cannot pick and choose your causes. If you stand for justice, you stand for justice everywhere. And I think that's the core of the American values. So in a way, and when the world goes up in arms for whatever attack here or there, and I don't know who's behind these attacks, and the same kind of attacks were just subjected on Gaza. And it doesn't have to be to steal somebody's life. It doesn't have to be always through bombs falling from the sky. And that is something, when you see the double standards, it doesn't just hurt. You feel that something is deeply wrong there, and it had to be corrected.
Palestinian humanitarian and development professional Lana Abu Hijileh, Country Director for Global Communities, a U.S.-based non-governmental organization. Write to me, tell me what you think. That's Laura, L-A-U-R-A, at lauraflanders.com, and subscribe to get another F word next week. The Laura Flanders Show is a TV and radio program that seeks to raise radical spirits by interviewing forward-thinking people with real experiences of shifting power from the few to the many in the worlds of economics, arts, and politics. Join us.